2. All right, so we are back with the podcast here. This is the Jon Seabolt Show. I've got Dakota. I brought Dakota on. Actually, right before before I messaged you earlier, I had actually recorded about half of an episode with a guy, a dude named Harry, that was on an episode earlier, and my internet crapped out. And I don't know, I had it set to the 5 hertz or gigahertz, megahertz, whatever it is, connection, and I guess that's not working too good, so I got it down to the 2.4, so hopefully this doesn't just crap out in the middle of it. But anyway, so just jumping right into things, we're just going to go with this. I don't have any prepared anything, but I think that's going to make for a better thing, just people chatting. So so we'll just start right at the beginning. Last time we left, you were in China. You are no longer in China.
Oh, no, I'm no longer in China, thankfully.
Yeah, and you're in Japan now?
Yeah, I actually live in Tokyo right now.
In Tokyo. So, now, I forgot, when you lived in China, you didn't live in, like, a massive area, right? Was it a smaller area? Or was it still big?
So, here's the thing. I would consider it a big city. It, I believe, had a higher population than Chicago, I think.
Okay.
However, in China, it's not considered a big city. And there was no major downtown full of skyscrapers like you would see in a big city like Chicago in the United States. It was really odd.
That is strange. I remember you posted 1 or 2 videos. I remember when you first got there, and the reason I thought it was small is because the video outside looked like just kind of just a small area. I mean, it was just like, oh, here's a small little convenience store and whatnot.
Yeah, no, it was really strange to me because I'm fairly certain that it had a larger population, according to Wikipedia, than Chicago. Like, I think like 3 or 4 times as big, but it also had a larger area of land, so it was more spread out than Chicago is.
Gotcha.
And there were large like buildings of apartments, but there weren't a lot of like big like office buildings or anything like that. Right. And it didn't have like in even large Chinese cities, large cities anywhere in the world, you'll find things like, you know, vegan restaurants and like specialty things and like import stores and stuff like that. There weren't a lot of those in the city, and there were like no vegan restaurants. It was a really interesting experience. There, huh. It was not a big city.
Yeah, no, I do want to actually touch base. I'll touch base back on the vegan stuff here in a minute. But so what? Why? Like, what was the reasoning? And I know that you had a ton of issues in China. I know that, but like for anybody listening, like why did you leave China and ultimately decide on going to Japan?
Literally every step of the process of getting a visa to work in China messed up multiple times. I had trouble getting my paperwork done in the United States, including the Illinois State Police saying I paid for something but not giving me my background check. They acknowledged I paid, but they refused to give me my background check. And just everything, when I got there, I was there on a tourist visa. They said I wouldn't have to work, but then they made me work and refused to get me a work visa. And so it was, my best friend was supposed to come with me. She ended up staying in Canada because her paperwork was going through for her husband, who is Korean. So he was able to stay there. And my fiance and I broke up because we had been long distance for so long. And just everything in my life went downhill, and everything in the process of living there messed up every step of the way. And I was like, this is a bad experience. I'm sure China would be fine under better circumstances, but everything has been ruined. So we're just going to go somewhere else and start over.
Right. How long? I don't remember how long exactly you were there, because you've been gone for a minute now.
Yeah, I was there for about 5 or 6 months.
Man, it doesn't seem like you were. I knew that you were there for a little bit, but it doesn't seem like you were there for that long. I guess because like the whole time you were there, you were, for lack of better terms, you were kind of miserable there.
Oh, it was terrible. I hated almost every second. There were good things, especially when I had to leave the country, because you can only stay for 90 days at a time. So I had to leave to renew my visa. And so I got a free vacation to Hong Kong. That was nice.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, but other than that, and the money was great. But
was it? Did it pay better than Japan?
It's paying about the same amount of money I'll make on my new contract when that starts. But things were a lot cheaper. A lot cheaper. So I think my rent was about $200 a month.
Whoa, I know. The reason I was asking that is because I've mentioned him to you a million times. My buddy Evan, when he lived, so he teaches English in Japan now. He's in a town like an hour and a half or so outside of Tokyo. But when he got job offers back in 2014 or 15, where he had an offer from Tokyo or from Japan. I say Tokyo like it is Japan, but Japan or Korea. And the reason he chose Korea was because if he taught in Korea, he got his housing was paid for and stuff like that. And the reason he chose that is so he could do that and then save up money. His ultimate goal was to get to Japan, which he is now. But in Japan, they didn't pay for your housing and all that stuff. That's why I was asking, because I know that part of the reason he chose Japan later was because of the benefits of another country earlier on was kind of outweighed the, all that stuff. So that's interesting that China pay, and I guess cost of living, that makes sense. So now, do you have any of the same, like, I don't know, culturally, how about that? We'll go culturally. How culturally different is living in either places? Are you finding it harder to adapt to, or which I know that you can speak Japanese relatively decently and whatnot, so I'm sure that makes it a little easier than navigating China. But I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming you enjoy Japan more.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it more so far, mostly because of the circumstances. Like I said, China seems like it'd be a really fun country if I had been happier in general.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do speak a little bit better Japanese than I do Mandarin, so that definitely helps out here. Although for some reason people can't understand me sometimes. I think they might just panic because they're like, "Oh God, a white guy."
Yeah.
My friend has told me my accent is pretty decent. Apparently, I can't speak English anymore. My accent apparently is pretty decent. And I'll go and tell people I don't need a plastic bag. They'll ask if I want one. I'm like, oh no, it's not necessary. And they'll be like, what? And it's really funny to me.
That's odd to me because I feel like in a place, especially like, well, no, I guess English is so dominant that I guess it probably does shock people, because there's a lot of people that probably go to Tokyo thinking these people are going to speak English, or there's going to be at least somebody here who speaks English that I can talk to. So I guess it would shock them, honestly.
Yeah, and it's funny because there are quite a few people here that feel that way, and I see people, because back to the vegan thing, I'm in a couple of vegan groups on Facebook because when I lived in the United States, I've been vegan for 10 and a half years now. So like I had like shorthands that I could do to find foods, and I had just acquired a knowledge of what foods were vegan, like accidentally, that I could just grab and eat.
Right.
I don't have that knowledge here in Japan.
Like
so
Oreos.
I have to. Yeah, Oreos aren't vegan here, but they're vegan in the US. It's really annoying.
That is super weird.
Yeah, I think this is the only country that I know of where they have milk in them.
I bet they're better. I mean, not for somebody like you, but I bet they're amazing.
Yeah, they probably taste better, but yeah, and so like I don't have that background knowledge anymore, so I have to read ingredients for everything, and I have to look at everything to see if I want it. And a lot of other people are like that too in these groups. They're like, "Oh, I don't speak Japanese. What foods can I eat? I bought this. Is this safe?" And I'm just like, "Why are you buying things if you can't read the Japanese on them? I don't understand."
Well, especially for something so, something like that, because like I know a whole, like, how like you've got the stereotypical vegan that people think of when they think vegan, and then you're also just normal people, and I know people on both ends of the spectrum and everything in between, because I know some people, like there's a dude that I know who is a vegan, and he was like, oh crap, I accidentally ate that and I didn't realize that's what that was, but you know what, man, I've been good all the other times, I just won't eat it again, whatever, and it's not a big deal. But I know people who would flip the F out if they knew they accidentally ate something as well. You know what I mean? But for something so, something that has such a, I don't know, diehard fan base or whatever you want to call it, you would think that they would be a little more careful, especially depending on what the reason is. Because I know there's a ton of different reasons for people to do that. I know animal cruelty is one thing, and then I know, health or whatever the different causes are. You would think that they would try to research it at least a little bit better. So.
Yeah, and like that's I don't I'm actually like one of the strictest vegans that I know. Like I won't buy something unless I'm 99.9% sure that it's vegan. Like if there's a thing in there that's probably vegan, but I'm not sure, like because some ingredients can be from both animal and plant products.
Hmm.
And so the only way to know is to contact the manufacturer and ask them. If I'm not sure, I just won't get it, even though it's probably vegan. Um, but if I eat something that's not vegan on accident, I go, oh, they'll just won't do that again.
Yeah. Now,
I'm in both sides. Oh, sorry.
no, you're good. Out of curiosity, because I don't know if I've ever actually talked to you about that. When you decided, because I'm not a vegan. I do little vegan challenges from time to time.
Yeah.
But every time I think about it, I'm just like, you know what, dude? Like, I do love some of this food, but good God, I love insert whatever. But like, so when you decided to do that, what was your was yours the animal cruelty thing, or what was your motivation behind doing that?
Well, way back when, I actually wanted to become a vegetarian when I was in like elementary school, like first or second grade or something,
Hmm?
because I wanted to be a vet. And I thought that if I was a vet, then I would be, I'm an animal doctor. I
Hmm.
shouldn't eat my clients.
Right. Okay.
So that was my reasoning. My dad didn't let me. He said I wouldn't do it. I was only a little kid, blah 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 blah. Years later I became a vegetarian and I never really liked meat.
Hmm.
So I felt like I wasn't actually making a sacrifice. And at the time some of my best friends were vegans. So after a year of being vegan or vegetarian, I went vegan. Mostly because of the animal rights things at first. I didn't want to be a veterinarian anymore, but you know, I want to cause as little harm as possible,
Sure.
and that's the way to do it from what I understand of the world. And eventually you learn the things about the health benefits and the environmental benefits and all of that, which adds on to it. And they're all reasons now, but the original reason was animal
Right.
cruelty and factory farming and stuff.
So, out of curiosity on animal cruelty, and I've never honestly really spoken to a vegan about this, but so PETA's big thing is they're vegan, right? But so,
Yeah.
or they're animal cruelty, but like, what do you think about like PETA just mass murdering animals in their shelters? Like, does that? I mean, I get the idea that there are so many animals and you have to do something with them, and so I get it. I'm not trying to cast judgment. I mean, I'm not a vegan. I can't cast judgment on any of this stuff, but it's just it seems hypocritical for them to be like, "Oh my God, you killed one rabbit. Oh, sorry, that's 40,000 dogs we just put down last year." You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
what are your thoughts? Does that not seem just a little hypocritical?
PETA is full of hypocrites. I hate PETA, and I've hated PETA for a long
I
time.
feel like most
Um,
vegans do.
yeah, most vegans that I know hate PETA. They do good things in the end, but they go about it the wrong way, and they're really hypocritical about what they do. Mostly, they like to be in the media,
Right.
um, and they call attention to stupid things all of the time. Like one time, they tried to change the word fish to like sea kittens or something. I don't remember. And I think multiple times tried to get Hamburg and Germany to change their name to like Veggieburg or something. And it's just like, what is wrong with you? And they have some really good resources. Like they've got a list of accidentally vegan foods that's really helpful and stuff. And so they've got some good information,
Mhm.
but I think they're so mismanaged and they've got their heads so far up their ass they don't even realize what they're doing is stupid.
Yeah.
And part of me thinks that they're being stupid on purpose because it gets people talking about it. But I don't believe that there's no such thing as bad press. There is bad press, and PETA is full of it.
I think that PETA as an organization is if there was an organizational version of white knighting, PETA would be it. You know what I mean?
That is the Yeah, PETA is absolutely ridiculous.
That's funny. So as far as that, so I actually, strangely enough, well, I told you before I got on here, I had a Japanese class. I was talking to my Japanese teacher about, and we actually started talking about just dietary stuff, and I was telling him about it because I'm doing like intermittent fasting and stuff like that, and and I was talking to him about just challenges and whatnot, and then I was talking about, as a matter of fact, I brought you up being in Japan, and I said, I feel like veganism is a very Western thing. Like, I feel like that's a very Western, and honestly, maybe United States, Canada, probably not as much Mexico, but maybe, but like, I feel like that's a very Western or North American thing, which I guess Mexico is part of North America, but you know what I mean? And so I was asking him, like, I feel like it would be harder to find stuff over there, because I know that when you first moved to Japan, I remember you talking about it being hard for you to find some food over there. Like, how is that in comparison? Because, like, I'm sure in Chicago there's probably 20 vegan restaurants, because it's just, it's so popular right now. It's whether it's a fad or not that's not what I'm talking about here, but you know what I mean. It's just getting bigger. It's more accepted. It's a lot more. It's easier to find. I can't imagine. I feel like especially an Asian country, that it may not be as common, and it might be harder for you to find things. Like, is it harder to kind of get around with stuff like that over there?
Well, I think it's funny that you mentioned that it's like a Western thing, because in today's society, it is more of a Western thing, but traditionally there's a lot of culture in Asia, particularly Eastern Asian countries that have Buddhist and Hindu backgrounds, that have plant-based diets. In fact, traditional Japanese temple food and Chinese temple food, like Buddhist and Shinto places, are completely vegan, and they actually go a step further and like take out there's a variety of reasons I've heard, because the compounds in the foods, like onions and stuff, are like bad for you, or they don't want to kill the plant to have to harvest it. I've heard a bunch of different reasons. I'm not an expert on that, but there's a bunch of different reasons for this. So traditionally, it's more of an Asian culture thing, but now, it's more Western.
That's crazy. I did not know that.
Yeah, and so like if you go to like any temple that serves food, it's very likely that it's going to be just whole foods, like produce cooked in specific ways.
Yeah.
That is vegan. So. But yeah, like now in like contemporary society, it is pretty hard to find these things. However, being in Tokyo, which is, depending on who you ask, the largest city in the world, there's definitely a lot of vegan restaurants.
I think Tokyo is like in the top. I think Seoul is the most population dense, densely populated. Like as far as, people per square or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think Tokyo does have the largest actual population.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And then
Google that.
I've looked at different lists that place it in different areas, and it depends on if you count like suburbs and everything.
Right.
But also, technically, Tokyo's not even a city, so it's too complicated for me. But it's a large metropolitan area. But the problem is, if you don't go one of these special restaurants that are specifically designed to serve vegan food, or particularly aimed at Westerners, or foreigners, there are also some places that serve, what's the word for Muslims? What's their food? Not kosher, but halal.
Kosher, halal.
There's a lot of places that have halal stuff too. And if you're not going to one of these restaurants that are specifically vegan or specifically marketed towards Westerners, you're probably not going to find anything vegan on the menu. And in Japan, it's really hard to special order things.
Tokyo is the 11th most populated city. What?
Yeah, it all depends on what statistics you're looking at, what they've decided to include, whether or not they're including the downtown population, the city proper population, the suburb population. So it's complicated.
Yeah, that's by city proper. I'm on my phone, so I can't fully change this, but so city proper is 13 million. Metropolitan is 38 million, and that looks like it's the highest by far.
Yeah.
And then it's got urban area 36 million, which also looks the biggest. Actually, what is that? Brazil has what? Brazil's not a city though. Oh, Sao Paulo. Anyway, I was like, that doesn't even make any sense. Okay, yeah, so yeah, I guess it does make sense. Being in Tokyo would probably, like, I'm sure if you were in like random town name with 40 people, it'd probably be you'd have to pick up like farming and stuff like that if you wanted to fully do that.
Well, and this is like I'm planning on moving. Currently, I live in Adachi, which is sort of like the northeast part of Tokyo, and I'm going to move. I'm going to be moving to Saitama, which is the prefecture northwest of Tokyo. And I was there, like, substituting for someone the other day at the school I work for now. And I looked on Happy Cow on my phone, which is an app that tells you nearby vegetarian, vegan restaurants. And the closest thing was a convenience store that focuses on healthy food 7 miles away. So even the bordering prefecture that's like a 30-minute train ride away from Tokyo there's nothing.
Yeah. That's crazy.
30-minute train ride away. So.
Huh. Yeah, well, when he was talking about it, he said that because he was talking about how, like, meat isn't necessarily looked at in the same, like, obviously you've got your sushi and sashimi and stuff, but he said that meat in Japan a lot of times is more so like your meal is rice. Yeah. And then, like, he was talking about how meat is actually used more of like just a kind of a side flavoring versus like how in America we're like, here's a freaking steak or something like that. Like he said, he was talking about that, which I thought was pretty interesting. Which he's actually from Canada. He's Canadian Japanese. But he's been to Japan and stuff, and obviously knows way more of their culture than I do. But I thought that was interesting. But I was thinking about that. I was like, man, I bet it's probably I bet it's still harder to get stuff in Tokyo than it is Chicago currently.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that it's mostly used as a flavoring sort of thing, because the friend I'm living with, he makes like large vats of food every week, and then he'll just eat it for dinner every night because he doesn't want to cook every day after work. I don't think I've ever seen him make anything that has actual meat or fish in it, like actual like chunks of flesh. But everything he's cooked is not vegan because it's so common for everything to have dashi, which is like a fish stock in it. And so they all the time there's like a fish stock or like a beef stock or there's some sort of stock in everything. It's crazy.
Huh. That's interesting. I wonder. I don't know. So, that's just it's really intriguing to me because like, are the ideas so like do you know any native Japanese who are vegan?
I know of some because of some of the groups that I'm in. And some like people on YouTube that I've like watched some of their videos of, but I haven't met any myself personally. But I'm hoping to make some friends. I'm gonna try and go to some of like the vegan festivals and meet people there.
Yeah. Now you said that you were substituting. Do you work for like do you like work for the government or do you work for like JET or whatever the organizations are that bring people over there?
I got a job with a private school. It has 2 campuses, one in Ikebukuro and one in Saitama. And so when they've got sick teachers, although my contract doesn't start until like the start of the new semester, they'll have me go in and substitute for sick teachers and stuff like that.
Gotcha. So you're not with like any of those. Like my buddy, when he went over there, man, he worked for, I can't even remember what the company was, but it's one of those come over here and teach English and we'll take care of you kind of situations. And dude, those are some shady freaking places, man.
Yeah, they can be pretty shady. I applied to this one place called Westgate. They place you at universities, and they require you to rent one of the apartments that they find for you. And it's really expensive. It's like $800 a month.
Good lord.
Yeah, which is crazy expensive depending on where you go. The place I'm looking to move is like 500, and so um, I don't know it. And you don't get to pick where you go. You get to suggest where you'd like to go. And I would have rather do that because I want to teach in university. But this place, the school that I applied to, it was much easier to ensure that I had a job with them.
Right.
So,
Huh.
but yeah, I almost got sucked into one of those shady companies just because it was something to get me like started in the university track.
Yeah, that's he got over there. He worked for one of those for like a year and a half, and he just works for the Japanese government now. As far as like he's just in the school system over there, teaching
that's really
and whatnot.
cool.
Yeah, but he when he first got over there, man, he spent so they were supposed to have a place for him, and they didn't, and basically like one of the teachers at the school had a house, and everybody who came over for that time had to stay with that person in their house. But they didn't make copies of keys, and they left the key just in a hole outside. So if you wanted to get it, like a communal key, dude, it was a crazy situation. Like, so he had to leave all of his stuff in this house, and there's a key outside, and which I don't think crime is quite the same in Japan as it is in America. But you know, that's as a matter of fact, he made a joke the other day about how like he had fallen asleep on a train and his wallet had fallen out. And he was like, only in Japan can you fall asleep and your wallet found out. And he woke up and his wallet was placed neatly on the little rack behind him, and they had his glasses off. And like he's like, that wouldn't happen in America, you know. And you know, I like to believe that, like, I still, even though there's a lot of crap going on, and especially with social media, all you see is garbage and bull crap, but I still like to believe that there are more good people in the world than bad people. But I still believe that in America, if you were to drop your wallet, I'd say at least 50% of the time, if not more, somebody would pick that up and be like, let's at least peruse what's in here, you know. But I mean, he had a bunch of cash and stuff on him. It was all just in there, just perfectly fine.
Yeah, it's so crazy because like you hear people like, I still wouldn't leave something unattended if I didn't have to.
Right.
But I'm definitely a lot less worried about it in Japan than I was in China or France or the United States, especially Chicago. Oh my God, I did not leave anything alone in Chicago.
Yeah. No, I forgot. Did you live like in Chicago, or were you just in like a suburb around?
Most of the time I lived in Chicago, but for a couple of years I did live in the suburbs of Chicago.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that seems pretty crazy. Yeah, I know in which I don't know much about France as far as like crime rate and stuff, but I do know that's, you know, just some of the stuff in Japan just from what my buddies told me. Now, have you ran into any person? So like my big concern of coming to Japan is or you know, for vacation or whatever, is I've got like tattoos and stuff on my leg. And I know the tattoos in Japan are still like pretty sketchy. Like, I think it's like kind of being accepted, but it's still very taboo because it's still associated with, you know, Yakuza and stuff.
Yeah. Well, the way I see it now, and I could be wrong, is most people our age don't care.
Right.
But the older generations, sort of like in the United States, in the older generations in the United States, a lot of people think that tattoos are stupid and you're going to regret them. The only difference is here you're banned from going to like public bathhouses and
right.
gyms and stuff. Not all of them will ban you. In fact, do you watch? Is it Ghibli or Ghibli? Like Miyazaki films?
I know you're talking about. I've actually, strangely enough, I know what you're talking about, and I actually had a conversation the other day with a dude about how I need to watch. I call him Studio Ghibli, but I don't know. I've actually never seen a Studio Ghibli movie.
I had seen half of one before I came to Japan the first time, and I was on a school trip, and we went to the museum for all of these films. I had only seen half of one of the films. I'm like, I don't know what any of this is. Right. And so I know a bunch of people who like desperately want to go because I love the movies, and at the time I had no idea what I was seeing and didn't appreciate it.
Right. Yeah, I've never seen like, so I know they did like what's like Spirited Away, and then like
that's what I was going to talk about.
Yeah, man, I have easy free reign to watch those. I just never had, and it's something, especially now learning Japanese, and as my Japanese progresses, which is that's that sounds way cooler than what it is for anybody listening. You know what I'm talking about. I'm progressing, but that doesn't mean I'm any talented at all. But so don't, if you're listening, don't mistake that as I can speak Japanese. But especially as I'm progressing, I love listening to stuff because I love, like, nothing motivates you more than like listening to a sentence or listening to whatever and then hearing just even one word and you're like, I know what that means.
Yes, I've got it.
Yeah.
They said hello.
Yeah. They said hello. So I'll pick up random things, man. I'll be listening to stuff because, like, I'm a big fan of active or passive listening, which I think I've mentioned to you in the past. But I really love to just put stuff on, and even though I don't know what it's saying, I don't put a lot of stock into it. I don't pay attention. Like, I'm not really trying to listen. I'll just have it on literally to acclimate my brain to the sounds of the language. And just ever so often it'll be like blah 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 boom, and I'm like, I know what that means. And it's not like kohi, like I'm not talking like coffee, you know what I mean? I'm talking like any random actual Japanese word, or like picking out when they're using like stuff like totomo or something like that, like just anything something like that, to where you're like, okay, I got what you're saying, you know what I mean? Or like I was listening to something the other day and somebody blah 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 mijikai, and I was like, okay, something short. I know something short. I don't know what it is, but I know something short. So it's really, really cool. So I'm sure being in Japan has helped. Have you felt like you've progressed any in your Japanese at all?
I don't feel like I have, but the friend I'm living with says I have. So I have a hard time of like gauging myself because I'm a little bit too tough on myself most of the time, and so I feel like I have barely made any progress, but my friend that I'm living with says that I've made a lot. So I guess we'll see if I try to make a video on me speaking Japanese sometime or something.
Do the two of you you're living with, do they speak English and Japanese?
Yeah, he's originally from Japan, but we met when he was living in Chicago.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So you could actually set up like well, of course, again, I mean, that's the thing, man. Like, and that's kind of what, for my language channel, that's all about is trying to learn, because it's like learning here where I'm not constantly exposed to it. Because like you probably do a lot of passive learning without even thinking about it, just because you're constantly around it.
Yeah, and like definitely when I get the opportunity, I'm trying to like eavesdrop on people and understand what they're saying, but Japanese is a very fast language, which is the hardest part for me.
Yeah, I had read and I don't know how true this is, but I had read, as a matter of fact, a few months ago that Japanese, as far as I guess, like, I don't know how they gauge it, maybe words per minute or something, but I had read that Japanese is actually the fastest language spoken.
I saw a study of this once. It was about 4 or 5 languages, and I believe it included English, Spanish, German, Japanese, and maybe French. I don't remember. It was a small collection of languages. And what they did is they counted up syllables per minute or syllables per something. I don't remember exactly. And like seeing how fast languages went. And out of those languages, Japanese was the fastest, and then Spanish. And they discovered that there was a correlation between the length of words and the density of meaning in those lengths. So I don't know how much you've gotten into with the grammar and conjugation in Japanese, but conjugation can get very, very long and only have a slight difference in change in meaning.
Right.
And so because of this, the theory was, again, it was just like a correlation sort of thing they found. The theory was that because the language took longer to say, they said it faster, so they can get the same amount of meaning in about the same amount of time. But in Japanese, you can also leave off a bunch of things.
Yeah.
So they're speaking faster to like save time for meaning, but they're also leaving out things that are obvious, which languages like English can't do. So it was really interesting. I don't know if we saw the same study, but I saw that one years ago.
Yeah, no, well, and it does make sense, because I know, for example, if you're saying like, my wife is shopping, right? So or if you were asking if somebody's wife was shopping, so you could say like uchi no okusan wa kaimono desu ka, right? So like I think that may be because like uchi is like the house's wife. You know what? Like it's like uchi no. I don't know if you've ever heard that or not. But so that's just something my Japanese teacher taught me. But anyway, so then if the guy responding was saying yes, my wife is shopping, he wouldn't say uchi no. I can't remember it because there's two words. So okusan is like your what would be? It's tsuma maybe. Tsuma. Anyway, but they would omit the word and they would just say uchi no and then go right into the subject. Like you kind of omit.
Mm-hmm.
So, whatever. Which as soon as the subject's even mentioned, you immediately never mention it again until the subject changes. So, and that is very hard to get used to because in English, it's like if I'm talking to you, I say, just like this sentence right now, I say I every single time. It's something about I, or if it's you, it's you. You know what I mean? You always say that. But in Japan, I would say, how are you?
Yeah.
And then I would say, so now that it's you, instead of being like, oh, did you go here? You would just say, go shopping, go eat, find this. You wouldn't say you over and over and over. And that's very confusing.
Yeah, I think it's really fun because it's, I don't know, just so much easier and faster. But
and it's still, I think it's not as confusing as Spanish still. People say all the time, like I used to say, because Spanish conjugations are my most hated thing on the planet. I hate Spanish conjugations more than I hate anything. And I remember talking to somebody about Japanese verbs, and they're like, just wait. But I've went through most of the conjugations in Japanese, and while they're tough, I can deal with conjugations changing based on meaning. I can't deal with conjugations changing based on just who the freak is talking.
Yeah. And Japanese conjugation is really simple.
There's a pattern to it. There's a rhyme and a reason.
But I mean, for first person, second person, third person, singular and plural, it conjugates the same for everyone.
Yep.
Things build on each other in a fairly logical way. It's really nice. I really appreciate it. Conjugations get really long, but the way they build makes sense.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I really.
What so for like have you went out and like as far as entertainment wise, have you been to any kind of shows, music, theater, plays, movies, anything like that?
I went and saw a movie. I went and saw the new Harry Potter movie when I first got here.
Which Harry Potter was that?
It was
I can't remember, dude. I followed the core movies, but then as soon as they did like Fantastical Beasts and stuff, I stopped.
Crimes of Grindelwald. That's what it was. Crimes of Grindelwald.
Gotcha.
Fantastic Beasts, Crimes of Grindelwald or something. It was terrible.
Yeah, they doing them, but I guess it keeps making money. But I've never followed any of the little side things.
Yeah. I didn't want to go, but my friend kept bugging me. He was like, fine, we'll go. Because it looked like it was going to be terrible, and the first one was terrible. But I did that. I've gone to karaoke a couple of times. Yeah. Other than that, I mostly just stay home. If I do go out, I mostly just get food to eat at restaurants. Because then at least I'm... Like, yes, having fun and entertaining yourself is useful, but it's when you're really poor and running out of money, it's harder to justify going out to have fun. Whereas when I go out and get, like, food to eat once a week or once every other week, I'm like, I'm sustaining myself. I bought something I need.
Right. So when you did karaoke, I mean, did you go to like an actual karaoke bar, like one of the karaoke cafes, or?
By bar, do you mean you get up in front of sing in front of everyone, like you do in the West?
No. The ones that are like just the specific rooms for.
Yeah. Yes, I've personally never seen anything like Western karaoke here. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I haven't seen it. All the karaoke I've ever been to is you rent a room.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I've seen in people's videos and stuff is the karaoke bars where you literally go in and you and your group have your own specific room and you kind of just chill, which seems way cooler to me. I would still probably not participate, but I would at least go to one of those versus a bar like how they would be here in America.
Yep, it's so much better because you don't have to wait as long to sing. You don't have to sing in front of strangers. You and your friends can do duets. Like if someone's singing a song and you didn't think about it, you can just grab a microphone and hop on. Like you can't do that with strangers.
Yeah. I wonder how did the idea of karaoke even get started? Like at what point was somebody like, you know what would be great is if someone sang this song and it wasn't who originally sang this song. That would be awesome.
I wonder who did. I'm pretty sure it's Japanese.
I feel like it would have to be just based on the name.
Yeah, the name, what we call it at least, is Japanese. But I think the whole concept is Japanese. I read about it once years ago on Wikipedia, but I forget what it said.
Yeah, karaoke. Man, I really love this song so much. I would love to hear anyone else butcher it. I don't want to hear the actual version. I just want to hear someone butcher it. Because we're not talking like covers. I mean, we're talking just people with no experience singing, which is fine. I mean, I guess maybe that's the point, is it's fun and people laugh and have a good time and stuff. I guess that's maybe the point of it, but...
Yeah.
Do they serve, like, drinks and stuff in there? They serve drinks in there, right? You can, like, order stuff?
Yeah, the one that I go to, it's the only one I've been to so far now that I'm back. What it is we get, like, free time. So normally you pay per hour.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go during the day on off times, you get there's like an 8-hour block. Whenever you come to this, I think it's like noon to 8 at this place, I think. And it's just one flat fee for the entire time. But you have to buy a drink as well. And you can buy extra drinks and food and stuff like that. And it's so great. Like the menus at this place that I go to, they tell you the allergies right on the menu, so you know which things are safe. Mm. For me being a vegan, right. Okay, this doesn't have milk in it. Basically, I can get French fries and plain onigiri, but it's something.
Yeah.
They've got.
What is it?
Oh, what were you gonna say?
I was just saying that doesn't sound too bad.
But yeah, it's not. The one that we go to has mocktails, which, non-alcoholic cocktails, because I don't drink, and it's so exciting.
Yeah, see, that's where I feel like I would because if I go to Japan, it's gonna be like, well, let's go do this, and I'm gonna do that, but I don't drink or anything, so it's gonna be. I mean, I've never. I'm not saying I've never drank. It's just I don't it's. I don't know, and I guess maybe being in Japan. One thing I do want to do in Japan is I want to go to Sapporo and drink Sapporo just for the. It's kind of like going to Philly and eating a Philly. You know what I mean? I want to do that. But I'm more interested in sightseeing and seeing. I want to go to the gaming central place, like the Akihabara and stuff like that.
Yeah, is that what Akihabara is known for?
I'm pretty sure it's kind of like nerd culture. The way that it's been explained to me, honestly, I thought about this the other day. I thought about watching some YouTube videos of people going through, but if I'm not mistaken, I think it's just in general maybe a more nerdy central type of thing. I think game shops probably like comics and stuff like that. I could be wrong. I probably would not take my advice on that. I would definitely look that up beforehand. But that's what I've always assumed it is.
Yeah, I've been to Akihabara, but I went there for other things. So, and that's Ikebukuro. When I go there, it looks like it's full of a lot of anime and stuff. Mm. So just right around where I work, there's a bunch of there's a couple of YouTube stores. It's just stores that sell YouTube merch. What? And places that have anime plastered all over them and stuff. So I think Ikebukuro is also very anime-y, but I've also heard it's full of Yakuza, so...
All right. That seems... I don't know, man. Do you think that, I feel like the Yakuza could be dangerous, but I also feel like maybe it's one of those things where if you kind of just chill and don't mess with them, they won't mess with you. I don't really know how it works, but surely they're not just going to be all right, let's go F with that guy.
Yeah, they don't really, from what I understand. They're more of they're the mafia. They got their hands in big schemes.
Right.
They like to break laws. They don't like harass people like petty.
Right. You know what? This one guy we're gonna get. Like, I know we got $1 million tied up in this other thing, but this one guy we really got to get.
I can't remember if it was the Yakuza or the Mafia or something, but I recently heard a story, I don't know if it's true, about some large illegal group like the Yakuza or the Mafia or something had bought a company to launder money, and they ended up making more money through the business than they were laundering money. And so they gave up the crime and just ran the business.
I hope that story is real just because of it's hilarious.
Yeah,
that is.
I hope I forget who it was, but I hope it's real too because it's so great and so wholesome, sort of.
Yeah, well, we decided to commit to just a life of awesomeness. So one thing, just thinking about the cultural differences. How is have you noticed anything with like drug and substance abuse in Japan?
So drugs are very illegal here. I don't know anyone that's Japanese that's done drugs. Like none of the Japanese friends I've ever had have done drugs, even outside of Japan. Do you know what poppers are?
Poppers?
Poppers. They're like a sex thing.
Okay, I don't think so.
I don't know exactly what they are, but they're big in like gay culture. I know that other people use them too. They're not just for gay guys. But there's some sort of inhalant. You sniff them, and I think it's just like a regular inhalant. Gets you high and like relaxes your body. They're illegal here too. So like, you can just buy them at any sex store in Chicago, but they're completely illegal here.
That seems. It's not, is it like a synthetic thing?
I don't know what it is. All I know is it smells terrible. I've never used them. I just know it's something you like inhale and it gets you all relaxed and ready.
Wow, that seems like it should not be. I don't know. I don't really know much about it. That seems very, very crazy to me, man.
Yeah, it's not legal in every state in the US either, but it's legal in most of them.
Huh.
So, but yeah, it's actually, I've looked around at some of the places around Japan, like gay. I was looking for like bars and stuff, but when you search, you also find stuff like bathhouses and massage places and all of that.
Right.
And some of them have warnings that say you can't bring this here. This is illegal. So like there's warnings plastered on all of these places for foreigners. So
I'm assuming.
yeah.
So I'm assuming if they have places like that, I'm assuming the gay acceptance in Japan is higher than what it is in China.
It's definitely higher than China, but that's not saying much.
Gotcha.
It's still not great here. There's still, even though if I remember correctly, foreigners who are married to same-sex partners outside of the country are allowed to treat their partners as partners in terms of getting visas and stuff. Like you can bring your same-sex partner over, but you can't get married here. That's not even close to happening.
Whoa.
I think if one of the people in the couple are Japanese, it doesn't matter. Like if I were to marry a Japanese man, he couldn't get me a visa. We both have to be foreigners. Wow. And it has to be a license from a different country. Again, I'm not sure about it. I just think that's how it is. But again, people our age, more accepting of it than older people, like most countries.
Right.
People just started suing the government. Like they planned to sue the government on Valentine's Day. So I think there's currently a case of people suing the government for gay marriage, but the people in charge right now, that's not likely to happen. It's a mess. So
that seemed, I mean, I don't know. You know, now that I think about it, I don't know what I thought Japan's stance on any of that stuff was. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when I asked that question, then you were talking, I was like, what did I think Japan's stance was? Like, did I think they were pro or did I think they were anti? But I guess, like, I feel like my overall thought is that a lot of Eastern cultures are still kind of like maybe not necessarily anti as much as they're just like, we're still kind of on the fence about this. We're not sure.
A lot of Asian cultures are very conservative. In fact, there's only one country in the entirety of Asia that has gay marriage. And it might not, depending on, because it's Taiwan.
Oh, Taiwan.
Taiwan has gay marriages, which is kind of a country. It's kind of not. It's kind of part of China, and China's trying to get the parts of China that aren't like, because Macau and Hong Kong and Taiwan have been sort of separate, like one China, two systems sort of thing. But China's trying to make it one system. They're pushing Hong Kong harder than Taiwan, as far as I know. But they're trying to make everything the same.
Yeah, because I think it was actually just recently that I found. I think maybe even in the first podcast that I did when you were on, and I think it had just recently been then where I found out that Hong Kong was not in China control until like recent, like it was under British control. Or England control, whatever you want to call it. But.
Yeah, it was within our lifetime that it went back. I think it was at the beginning of our lifetime. We're the same age, right?
I'm 31.
31? Oh, you're a little bit older than me. So yeah, it was definitely within our lifetime. I think we were like little kids when Hong Kong went back to China, I think.
That's crazy. Of course, then again, it's crazy to me to think about like our parent. When did Hawaii become a state? Like the late 50s or early 60s?
Something like that, I think, yeah.
So, I mean, like, our parents, like, my dad is 70, so that means when my dad was, like, young, like, we didn't even have 50 states. Like, it's crazy to think that we're still that new of being, like, 50 states. So, stuff like that's weird to think about.
Yeah, and, like, that's the thing. Like, people talk about all the time about, like, oh, I want to go to all whatever amount of countries in the world. And, like, I know someone who has a tattoo of the map on her back, and she colors it in when she goes to a new country. And I'm like, borders are changing all of the time.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's fine. This is a snap pic of when I started. And I'm like, I can accept that.
Yeah.
Like, she took that into consideration when she did it. But it's just like, yeah, the world's constantly changing. We might lose a state someday within our lifetime. We might, like, things happen.
Yeah, man. Well, I know they keep having those rumblings about California wanting to, like, not necessarily split from the nation, but, like, I know that I've read some stuff about... I mean, honestly, I try not to read a lot of that stuff because, like, even though I think Fox News and CNN are both trash, I still think that they're the most accurate trash out there. Because, like, even though that they both... CNN is obviously liberal and Fox is obviously conservative, I still think that it's the most reputable reporting out there. Because even though they slant, they still have to uphold, like, a certain something. Now, the fact that depending on the certain situation, one of them. So if Trump does something bad, CNN picks it up, Fox doesn't, and if he does something good, Fox picks it up and CNN doesn't. But at the end of the day, they're still the most reputable news sources out there. So I haven't really seen anything on that, but I have seen stuff where I guess California wants to split into two states, possibly, like Northern and Southern California. But again, it's not been on any site like that, so I don't know how true that is, but.
That would be interesting because from what I understand, Southern California and Northern California are actually vastly different in terms of like, culture and economics and just so many things. They're extremely different. So that would make sense.
Yeah. Well, I know that like Southern California, like I know a lot of my like extremist, like people on my friends list who are extremist liberal are even like California's crazy. That's Southern, like that's too far, and I'm like, I don't know, dude. You go pretty far, and they're like, nah, this place, man. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like California is kind of, and then you know, I guess it goes both ways. Both sides do that, and anybody listening from California, that's not a shot. I'm just saying, I know several liberal people who are like, California is just too liberal for me, man.
Oh, that's
but
so
then
funny.
I think about like Joe Rogan's not from there, but Joe Rogan lives there. Kevin Smith lives there. Like all these big name people live there, and like Kevin Smith seems like a normal dude. You know what I mean? Like, Joe Rogan's a super normal dude. There's a lot of normal people out there, so I don't know. Maybe it's just I know California has a lot of really relaxed laws. Maybe that's what they're talking about. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know. I don't know a lot about California because I have no interest in California personally.
I've never had either, dude. I know several people who are like, it's California or bust, man. I want to go to California, and I'm like, it's nothing against California. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff that I would see. Like, I would like to go to like San Francisco because I'm a huge fan of Full House. I would love to just go, and the way their streets are, those giant streets, the big hill streets, that would be cool to see. But like, dude, I can think of so many other things. I would rather go to Mount Rushmore. I would rather go to Niagara Falls. I would rather go to the Grand Canyon. I would rather see stuff like that. I would rather go to Yellowstone National Park. Like, there's so many things I would rather see than just the fact that I'm in the state of California.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like California itself is for some reason this big. It's like, oh, California, the beaches, the weather, and like, first of all, I don't care for that. It's too hot for me. I want snow in the winter. I want to see some rain, and I want it to be hot sometimes. But like, it just, apparently their weather's perfect, and I don't want that.
Yeah, that's it seems like every single day in Los Angeles is 78 degrees, and it's just okay.
Yeah,
I can't even.
And it's just like, have fun with your droughts, like.
Yeah. And then where I live, we're on the opposite spectrum, man. I got a thing on my phone today. It's Thursday here, okay? I got this at noon on Thursday, and it said flash flood watch through Sunday. It's just never stops. Basically, the weather where I live, it snows. So, okay, just to give you an example, on Wednesday, yesterday, or no. Yeah, yesterday. Yesterday, over the course, in less than 24 hours, we had a snowstorm, we had an ice storm, we had hurricane force winds. I'm talking 60-mile-an-hour winds, and then it also flooded over the course of 24 hours. And I'm not talking flooded because snow melted. I'm talking because there was a crap ton of rain falling from the sky.
Oh my god, that sounds like where I'm from. Like
It's ridiculous here, man. Every time the weather hit, like, it's not, for the past probably maybe month, it's snowed or rained every day. There's not just been a day.
Oof, that's insane.
Yeah, it's
I would prefer a little bit more stability in weather than you get in the Midwest, for example, where I'm from. But all those sunny days, like, I know that sounds stupid, like, oh, I don't want it to be sunny and warm, but like, I don't. Like, I love thunderstorms. They're so calming. I love thunderstorms.
I like seeing lightning, and I do like rain, and I like the way it sounds and stuff. But like, I don't like the loud clashes of thunder. Like, if it's like a rolling thunder, or also shout out to wrestling fans, Rob Van Dam. But he had a move called Rolling Thunder. But if it's something like that, or like almost like heat lightning, or like, well, not heat lightning. I'm fine with this, but it's that loud, like, okay, lightning just struck outside of my house. I hate that kind of crap.
Yeah. When it's a distant thunderstorm, it's nice.
Yeah.
Although, when I first moved to Chicago, I worked for a company that took photos of tourists, and I worked in the Sears Tower at the top of it. It is so amazing to be at the top of the Sears Tower and watch a lightning storm, because you can see the lightning jumping between the clouds and stuff. Right. It's so cool.
Man, I feel like that would be awesome, but I feel like that would freak me out at the same time. Because you're so high up. You're like first in line to get struck.
I loved it. Because big towers like that have lightning rods, so if the building's going to get struck, it's going to hit the lightning rod.
That's true, too.
So I wasn't worried about it. So, science saving us.
Yeah, man. Science seems all right. That's cool. Have you went to any place, have you went to like Tokyo Tower or anything like that since you've been over there?
I went when I first came in 2010, a long time ago. I haven't this time. My friends try to talk me into it. I don't really like going up tall buildings and looking at, like, I don't want to pay $20 to look out a window.
Sure. I mean, that makes the most sense to me. I think a lot of that stuff is over, but I guess it's there to literally take advantage of tourists. You know, just like New York. I think I paid $30 or $40 some to go to the top of the Empire State Building and just, all right, which it was cool, but you know.
Yeah, like that's the thing. It can be an amazing experience. Like I said, being up there working and seeing that lightning was amazing. But if you just go on any regular day, like a touristy day, it's not going to be enjoyable because you're going to be up there with hundreds of people, like squeezing past them to like squish up against the window. You know, if you're going to do it, you got to do it carefully, because you can get some amazing views and some amazing pictures, but you can also be miserable and sweaty and hot and pressed up against glass.
Yeah. When I went to the Empire State Building, we got to New York. So I stayed in Rahway, New Jersey, which is like 15 minutes away maybe, and we took a train into Penn Station. I think it was like 30 minutes by train. And we left super early that morning, and we got to New York probably around 8 or 8:30, like super early. Well, not super. I mean, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, all right, it's noon, let's go. And the first thing we did, we went to the Empire State Building because my wife, well, my girlfriend at the time, but my wife now, Tracy, she was like, I read online, if you go early, you can beat the crowds. Dude, and we went, and that was the first thing we did, and there was maybe 10 other people on top of the building with us, and that was it. And it was so awesome because it wasn't just shoulder to shoulder, I hate my life. It was like, you know, you could actually enjoy it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, when I went to the Eiffel Tower, I went with my roommate at the time, like in Chicago. I had a roommate. I was living in France at the time, but she came to visit me, and we went to the Eiffel Tower. And she's not very good at getting to places on time, and so we went like in the middle of the day. It was like kind of cloudy and windy. Like the Eiffel Tower isn't covered; you're outside in the Eiffel Tower, and so we were like up really tall, and it was cold and windy, and there were a bunch of people, and I was like, "Ooh, this is miserable. We should have got here earlier."
Yeah, man, because I'm sure I bet the Eiffel Tower, if you put it up against any other landmark in the world, it's probably one of the most trafficked. I'm sure there's just so many people, man. Because, I mean, that's a bucket list thing. I want to see the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
I was going to say, and it's full of people selling you tourist shit at the bottom of it. Like, they just swarm you. Especially if they can tell that you're not French. If they hear you speak English, they are all over you.
Yeah, that's I've heard a story about Vietnam, how when you land, like, don't talk to anybody because those people are there literally to rip you off and just to try to profit off of you. Because I got really big into, well, I still love Vietnam and Vietnamese culture. And Vietnamese is still a language I very much would love to learn. And I remember, because you can actually go to Vietnam for pretty cheap. It's one of the cheaper places. If you look up like destination vacations, like cheapest, generally like Hanoi is one of the cheapest places you can go. So I remember, you know, looking up some stuff about that, and just people talking about like, hey, if you come here, if you don't have a translator with you or you don't speak, don't even stop and look at these people, because they're literally there to try to get money out of you and rip you off. They will take it. They will take advantage of you.
Yep. Which, I mean, it's funny because in a lot of these places, from what I've heard, again, I haven't looked into it too much, but, you know, everything's so cheap there because the economy isn't great and people are really poor. And so a lot of the times people taking advantage of you, it's you paying prices that you would pay in the West for things,
right,
instead of paying the super discounted price, which is a lot of money for them. And so it's interesting to think about.
Well, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, though, is there any difference in going to a touristy area in the United States? I mean, like, all right, so like, okay, let's say I go to Pigeon Forge every year, right? Which is it's in Tennessee. I don't know if you've ever been or not, because I know that you could probably get there kind of. It'd probably still take a while. But anyway, so you go there, right? I mean, Dollywood tickets are $60 or $70. Like, so is $60 or $70 to a trip to an amusement park for a day any less sketchy than a $5 map that you could have bought for 25 cents at another store, but you bought it from this dude? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's a tourist. I mean, it's...
Yeah, it's tourist things are expensive no matter where you go. And it's funny because have you ever seen Simon and Martina? I've talked about them a lot in my videos and stuff.
They're the Eat Your Kimchi people?
Yeah. Their newest podcast was them talking about tourist traps and what exactly that means. And them talking about how people call like certain restaurants tourist traps because they're really expensive, you know, sitting out at this cafe in front of like the Coliseum or something.
Right.
Well, Yeah, you're sitting in front of the Colosseum.
Right.
Like, you're getting the view on top of the food.
Right. It would be like going to like Egypt and being like, "Well, why am I paying so much?" And it's like, dude, you're freaking eating within visibility of the pyramids. What do you think?
Exactly. And like they're talking like the reason it's probably so expensive is because their rent is probably super expensive to be here.
Yeah, it's
So-
definitely has a lot to do with it, and I think people don't think about that because I mean, location. I mean, that person is going to make so much more money back just based on their location than the counterpart that's on even the opposite side of the street that doesn't have that view.
Yep.
So I know that I sometimes I'll get on just Google Maps and I'll go into Street View and just like look at things. And I did that, and I think I don't know if you can see them directly, but if you go to what is it, Cairo, where the pyramids are, there's like
I think so.
there's like a McDonald's that's like that you can just about see the pyramids. As a matter of fact, while I'm talking to you, I'm gonna pull this up. Hopefully this doesn't change my screen, but Google.
I'm gonna grab my plug while you do this.
Do what?
I'm grabbing my plug, my outlet.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, I think that there's so let me see. Great Pyramids. I misspelled pyramids because I'm an idiot. But yeah, I think there's like a McDonald's or something that's like literally right by. Okay, yeah. So there's the pyramids. So let me, boom. Yeah, there's like I mean, honestly, like it's weird to look at, man. The pyramids aren't that far from just a main road. Like
It's like really close butted up to it.
yeah, dude, it's like so that's 200 feet. Let's change it out to a mile. Oh god, yeah, no, 2,000 feet. Yeah, it's less than about 1,000 feet from a road.
That's insane.
Yeah, dude, it's pretty crazy. I'm trying to pull this up. Let's see. There's a parking thing. Here we go. I'm just trying to get to it. I know that there's like some sort of McDonald's or something here. Here's a KFC. But like literally the road leading in, man, you can like let me see. I'm just gonna pop right there and see what happens. I guess there's like roadways and stuff in the way. No, yeah, so like I'm gonna open up this thing and I'm actually gonna switch your camera real quick. I mean, you won't see this, you would see it if you would watch, but like let's see, I need properties. Let's change this to Google Maps. Yeah, so like if you're looking at this on the screen here, yeah, this is just a standard roadway. And you can just see the pyramids from here. I'll actually send you the link, Dakota, if you wanna look at that. But like that's just a standard road, which it ends right here. There's like a fence there where it ends because it goes kind of into a parking lot. But that's literally the pyramids, and you're just on a main road over here.
That's insane.
That's super crazy.
I love the bus of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, like are those just some apartments?
Yeah,
Are
dude.
those-
Could you imagine how much the rent in those in that place is?
I don't want to
I
even
bet
think
it's
about
insane. I bet it's insane. It's crazy to think about. So, like in Tokyo, there's probably people who live right beside of the Tokyo Tower, and it's just like, it's crazy to me. Like, I'm kind of getting off topic because it's like 1 o'clock in the morning here, and it's like every little thing is blowing my brain away. But like, it's crazy to think that like the Empire State Building in New York, right?
Yeah.
Someone literally lives across the street and sees that every day, but then someone like me who's only been there once, that's like a crazy phenomenon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's weird.
There might even be people who live in it.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. Like it's crazy to think about that. Like there's somebody in Egypt who lives that sees the pyramids every single day.
Yeah. And the other thing, it's like, no big deal, whatever. I see that on my way to work.
Yeah.
And what do all these people come here for?
I look outside, man. Somebody gets mad at McDonald's because I give them the wrong thing, and I just look outside and I say, "No, there's the pyramids. All right."
Oh, that'd be insane.
It would be, man. That'd be so crazy.
Yeah, and it's when you live someplace, you just sort of grow like accustomed to things being there, and you take them for what's the word?
For granted.
There we go, for granted. Yeah, and you forget about it, and you're just like, oh, whatever. But then you leave, and you're like, people actually like. My friend I'm living with is like obsessed with. I think it's called the Buckingham Fountain. I think in Chicago, and I never thought about it. I saw it a couple of times on like an accident. I never like went there to see it really, but he's like he loves it. He's obsessed with it.
That's weird. What about that bean thing in Chicago? Did you ever see
yeah, I've seen that multiple times. I don't care for that either.
So I'm sure it's just a note. But see, like to me, like if I went to Chicago, I'd want to go see that.
Yeah, I mean, there's some really cool like down the road from that, there are these giant like fountains that spit out water, and they like project faces on it. I don't know if the faces are projected or if they're screens, but that one's really cool. I like that one. So,
do you think food plays the same way? Like, do you think people in Philly are like, I gotta go get a Philly, or are they just like, I need a steak sub?
I probably maybe I don't know. Aren't people in Philly like super protective over Philly cheesesteaks?
Maybe. Like when you lived in Chicago, were you ever like Chicago deep dish? I gotta get one of those.
Well, when I moved to Chicago, I was already vegan, and I didn't.
You definitely did not then.
I discovered a place that had deep dish pizza like maybe a year before I left. Oh, it's so good. I love deep dish. It's amazing.
They did vegan deep dish pizza?
Yeah.
Oh, so they just use like the vegan shreds and stuff?
They actually make their own cheese in house.
Huh. Very interesting.
Really good.
Yeah, man, that sounds super crazy. Huh. Yeah, I do wonder, man. I wonder if people like, what is New York famous for? I guess they're like kind of famous for like pizza and stuff too, right?
Yeah, they've got their thin crust pizza, right?
But no one says I need a New York slice, right? It'd just be like I need a piece of pizza. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
know where this is coming from. I think it's partial tiredness, and but it's just I think about things like that a lot, like just almost like observation style stuff. Just like, is that why would somebody in Philadelphia call a Philly? Because like Philly, like anybody not in Philadelphia, know, like you're signifying the area. Like I want a cheesesteak, but I specifically want a Philly cheesesteak.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder. I do wonder what they say. I've never thought about it before. They probably just say cheesesteak, I would guess.
Yeah, because I couldn't imagine them being like, I need a Philly. It's like, we're in Philadelphia. What does that? What do you mean? Because I'm sure they have other things that aren't Philly cheesesteak. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure they have other stuff like Philadelphia version of whatever. So, have you ever had a Philly cheesesteak?
I had never had a Philly cheesesteak until I went vegan. There's a lot of food that I haven't had, but I've had vegan versions of it. So I've had vegan Philly cheesesteaks that were pretty good. I don't know if they're authentic,
Dude,
but
the best. I argue with people in this all the time. When I went to Philly, I obviously got a cheesesteak, and like the biggest difference is like everywhere you go, they use just like mozzarella cheese or whatever. But the place that I went to, and I guess this is how, I don't want to say it's for sure how they make them, but I guess it's an option. But from what I understand, and if you're from Philadelphia, feel free to correct me. And if you're also from Philadelphia and you're listening an hour and 12 minutes into this, kudos. But they use Cheese Whiz.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, dude. And I will fight someone to the death. It is amazing. Like, people are like, that sounds disgusting. And I'm like, how's it? Do you like Cheese Whiz? Well, yeah. Then how's it disgusting? It's just on a different manner. I made a Vienna sausage sandwich the other day, like 2 weeks ago, right? I literally took Vienna sausages, I cut them in half, I put them on bread, and I put mustard on them, right?
Yeah.
And I was eating it. And my wife was like, that's disgusting. And I was like, do you like bread? She said, yeah. I said, do you like mustard? She said, yeah. And I said, you like Vienna sausages? She said, yeah. And I said, then how's this disgusting? Just because you're combining the ingredients make it disgusting?
Yeah, I don't know. That sounds perfectly fine to me. That sounds like a good meal.
I don't know, man. It's crazy. So, dude, I'm probably gonna. I would love to talk for a minute, but it's 1:10 in the morning, and I gotta work. This time schedule, we gotta get together and do chat a little bit more, because I'm gonna try to do these, man. I just like talking to people, man.
I'm done.
Seeing what's good. So.
Yeah, whenever you want, I'm here to talk. So.
Yeah, man. Now that I got your schedule, I'll let you know. So, but I am going to end that here. We're an hour and 15 almost, so we'll end that here. Thank you guys for watching. If you're listening appreciate you listening this full way. If you're watching whatever, I don't know, I'm losing my mind. I'm getting tired. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.